Now at 9, a man is facing a felony charge after a crash in Missouri. Plus, a Joplin man is arrested after stabbing a woman in Europe Park this weekend. And a local board game organization hosts an event to bring the community together through gaming.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
An Anderson, Missouri man is facing vehicular homicide charges. This is your KOAM News at 10. I'm Jalen Banks. Vincent Castro, an Anderson, Missouri man, is facing felony vehicular homicide charges after crashing into 65-year-old David Cunningham. Cunningham was airlifted to Freeman Hospital in Joplin, where he would later be pronounced dead. Nathaniel Seward, a 31-year-old male, has been arrested after stabbing a woman in Ewart Park early Friday morning. Joplin police say that they responded to the call and located an adult female who was then transported to a local hospital. She suffered multiple stab wounds, though she is currently in stable condition with non-life-threatening injuries. Early this morning, local first responders responded to a house fire at 630 South Porter in Joplin. Joplin Police Department, METS, and Joplin Fire Department all responded to the scene. No one was harmed in the fire, and everyone made it out safely. School for many starts tomorrow, and Central Christian Church in Joplin is celebrating with their annual Back to School Sunday event. The event is to celebrate making it through the summer, while also prepping the students and the teachers for the school year.
Today we are doing our Back to School Sundays. So right now we are in the middle of the ice cream series. We are learning all about ice cream and how biblical principles apply to our favorite toppings and ice cream desserts.
Many schools in the 4 states have already gone back to school, and Missouri Southern kicks off their school year tomorrow. Extreme weather threats continue throughout the country. Across the U.S., millions are under flood watches in the Southwest and the Southern Plains, while much of the Western U.S. is experiencing a historic drought. And as Cole Higgins reports, there's even a growing drought in the Northeast.
From June all the way until now, I think we've had probably one rainstorm that I can remember.
Mylan Adams, a Rhode Island hay farmer, is feeling the effects of extreme drought conditions across New England.
My fields right now are completely burnt, probably only about 4 or 5 inches tall when normally they're foot and a half.
In the West, the region is experiencing what scientists say is the worst drought in centuries.
We have this climate crisis that is affecting water in the West, and these reservoirs, Lake Powell and Lake Mead, have gotten to what are now historically low levels.
The drought is drying up the Colorado River system, and the Biden administration says all the states that rely on this critical resource must reduce their water use to avoid a, quote, catastrophic collapse. And now more than 4 million people in Southern California are being asked to cut outdoor watering for 15 days next month as officials work to repair a leaky pipeline from the Colorado River. Some California cities taking things a step further, paying residents up to $6 per square foot of lawn removed.
A lot of people feel like, what can my little piece of grass in the backyard, side yard, how can that help such a huge area of Southern California? Every drop helps. Every drop of water we save today is a drop for the future.
Across the Southwest this weekend, heavy rain and flash flooding. In Utah's Zion National Park, search and rescue crews looking for a missing person Saturday. Rangers say hikers were being swept off their feet by flash flooding in the Virgin River. And in the Southern Plains Sunday, more than 9 million people remain under flood watches. I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
And now Sam Lane joins us with the first look at the weather.
You know, we've been in a drought situation here in the 4 states for a while this summer, but we did get a little bit of relief last night with some scattered storms. You can see on radar earlier today, there were a few showers and storms down in Oklahoma, in Delaware County, and extending on over into Benton County, northwest Arkansas, but those have now dissipated, and now we're left with just dry conditions. Temperatures right now are pretty pleasant, but this afternoon they were not too bad, in the mid-80s across our area, 86 in Joplin, 84 in Fort Scott, 85 in Nowata. Check out Jay, they were down to 77 this afternoon because of the rain and the storms down in that area. And temperatures right now are still pretty pleasant, in the mid-70s, and looks like we have some rain in the forecast. You'll want to stay tuned to hear all the details.
This has been a summer of love for movie fans, as audiences return to the theaters for new blockbusters. Unfortunately, there's trouble ahead. CBS's Tom Waite reports.
Come on! Having any fun yet? Hollywood is rebounding at the box office with a string of summer blockbusters.
Feel the power of
Thor, Love and Thunder, Jurassic World Dominion.
See? Not so bad.
And this year's biggest movie, Top Gun Maverick, from Paramount Global, the parent company of CBS and Paramount Pictures, boosted ticket sales, but it may not be enough.
Problem is, there weren't enough blockbusters this summer for the theater chains to really say that we are back. The big three, AMC, Regal, and Cinemark, they're really struggling to keep moving forward.
That harsh reality may be setting in for Regal, owned by Cineworld.
The doomsday clock might be about out of time.
The Wall Street Journal reports Cineworld is expected to file for bankruptcy because of lower than expected ticket sales, but that doesn't mean the company's 500 U.S. theaters will be going dark.
A reorganization of debt means they're trying to control the film rentals, contracts, leasing, things like that. Moviegoers will not notice because the sky is not falling for Regal Cinemas yet.
So far this year, the box office nationwide has grossed more than $5 billion, better than 2021, but still far short of the $11 billion in 2019 before the pandemic halted production, shut down theaters, and sent audiences to streaming. While independent cinemas have mostly stayed profitable because of lower overhead and a loyal fan base, Fayetteville, Arkansas's 112 Drive-In is closing after 42 years.
I had to bring my family here just so my kids would know what a drive-in was like.
Hollywood is banking on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Avatar: The Way of the Water to boost end-of-the-year box office. Tom Waite, CBS News, Hollywood.
We now take time to honor one of our four-state heroes, Petty Officer James Akins, a Thayer, Kansas native. He has earned a multitude of medals and served in Seoul, South Korea. Petty Officer Akins has served in the Navy since 2011 and still serves to this day. And for that, we thank you, our four-state hero. And we'll be back with more right after this. CBS News has learned former President Trump's legal team plans to ask a judge to appoint an independent reviewer to evaluate documents seized by the FBI from his Florida home. Deborah Alfarone reports on the investigation into Trump's handling of the classified documents, which remains a hot-button issue.
Demonstrators gathered outside an FBI office near Boston today to protest the FBI's search of former President Trump's Florida estate.
The average person is going to start to lose faith in every one of our systems, and we can't let that happen.
CBS News has learned Trump's legal team will ask a Florida judge to appoint an intermediary known as a special master to review the government's documents seized by the FBI.
One of the benefits of the special master, if the master agrees with us, is we can stop DOJ in their tracks when it comes to inspecting these documents.
But legal analysts say the Justice Department would likely contest the motion, saying the documents are evidence.
The fact that these were highly classified documents, as high as top secret code word, makes it pretty clear to me the president has potential jeopardy here, compounded by what appeared to be deliberate misrepresentations by the president or his team.
Another document of interest, the affidavit used to get approval for the FBI search. The Justice Department says releasing the affidavit could cause irreparable damage to their ongoing criminal investigation. But more than a dozen media organizations, including CBS News, argue the public has a clear and powerful interest in understanding more of what prompted the unprecedented search. The federal judge in Florida who signed off on the FBI search has given the Justice Department until Thursday to submit proposed redactions to the affidavit. Representative Mike Turner is the top Republican on the House Intelligence Committee.
Show us what it is that you went into the president's residence, spent 9 hours at former President Trump's residence. What is it that was at an imminent national security threat that you didn't just go to court and ask the court to order that the documents be delivered to them?
Trump has called for the Department of Justice to release the affidavit unredacted. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
The war in Ukraine has been going on for half a year now, with no end in sight, and CBS's Charlie D'Agata has the latest.
It's not often a return to the war in Ukraine starts with a silver lining, but we headed straight for the port city of Odessa in time for the first grain ship to set sail.
What kind of grain is this?
In relative terms, just a handful of the 20 million tons of backlog, but it's a start that may help stave off starvation in places where it's needed most. Of course, much of our coverage was overshadowed by this, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. But in the actual shadow of the plant, residents we spoke to were far less worried about a nuclear catastrophe than a Russian missile launched from the plant tearing through their kitchens. With the 6-month anniversary of the invasion this week, we visited the scene of one of the most decisive battles for Ukrainian forces early on in the war.
Ukrainian forces fought for days to defend this airfield, robbing the Russian advance of a place to land troops and equipment in a crushing blow to Russian morale.
We were here when Russian artillery was hammering these neighborhoods northeast of the capital.
Everything smashed.
At a children's summer camp, we found Tatiana, the terrified deputy director protecting the lives of elderly residents.
Please help us, I ask you. Next could be here. I ask you go down.
We did go down where we found the elderly and young children hiding out, even as thunderous explosions rang out. We came back to see if Tatiana and her guests had survived.
I'm so happy.
I'm too. I'm glad to see you too.
She described the harrowing night after we left.
Building was shaking so much that I started to write messages to my friends, to my family, that I love them and I don't know if I will see them again.
And so the trip ended as it began. One glimmer of hope, one more silver lining. Charlie Daggett, CBS News, Horenka, Ukraine.
And after the break, Sam Lane joins us with a complete look at the forecast.
It was a pretty pleasant day across the 4-state region with temperatures in the 80s instead of the 100s as we've been dealing with most of the summer. So it was a really nice day to start this work week with August being very hot, but not this evening. Instead, we have a pretty pleasant evening down in Seneca with the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Pretty nice night. Last night there were some thunderstorms in the area, down in that area, and in Joplin as well. Today we made it up to 87. The low was 69, which was below the normals of 90 and 67, just a tad. The records are 102 and 46. We had only 0.05 inches of rain from the storms last night, but we'll take any drop we can get. This 87-degree high today was below normal, and we've only had 5 days this month so far below normal. Instead, we've been 15 days above normal. So hopefully we're going to start to reverse that trend and end up August pretty normal. All right, let's take a look at the rainfall amounts over the last 48 hours. You can see there was a swath of heavier rain up to the north and west, and also another little swath from Joplin down into Monette and down in Berry County, and also another one in southern Delaware County over into Benton County this afternoon. But not everybody got rain. Hopefully we'll change that as we go through the forecast. But temperatures right now are pretty pleasant. 76 in Joplin, 75 in Oswego, 74 in Yates Center, 71 for our friends down in Jay. Dew points is the big story because they've been up, but now they're starting to go back down. And so it's making it feel more comfortable out there with dew points in the low to mid 60s across the area. So it feels not too bad. Maybe a little bit sticky for some folks, but I think most everyone is enjoying the pleasant conditions. Your allergies, that's a different story. 8.7 today out of 10. Tomorrow even worse, 9.3 out of 10. And most of that is ragweed and chenopod. So if you're sniffling, that's why. Currently in Joplin, we're sitting at 76 degrees. It feels like 76 because the dew point is at 66 and the pressure is currently rising at 30.02. Your future cast looks like this. The front is going to make its way through our area, lows in the 60s tonight, and then as we head through the day tomorrow, temperatures are going to be pretty pleasant. Mid 80s across the area, 90s out to the west in Sedan with 91 and Nowata, as well as over there in Pryor. Then tomorrow, we're expecting lows again in the 60s for Tuesday morning. And then as we go through Tuesday afternoon, highs approaching 90 once again, 88 here in Joplin, 90 in Miami. Then as we go through Tuesday morning, or Wednesday morning, we should see lows in the mid-60s across the area, and then it starts to turn a little bit drier as well. Speaking of dry, no rain is expected over the next few days in our area. However, the good news is there's going to be a lot of rain across northern Texas, southern Arkansas, and Louisiana, where they desperately need the rainfall as well. Your 7-day forecast looks like this: 88 tomorrow, 90 on Tuesday, 91 on Wednesday. And the next chance of storms looks like it's going to be next weekend, but still not a bad forecast all in all. And extending it out, highs only in the 80s next week with good chances of rain. So at least we're not seeing 100 degrees.
It's been brutal this summer.
It has, but
20
we've gotten
plus
a break.
days of 100-degree plus weather.
Absolutely.
No, thank you. But this definitely looks like some perfect weather for football, don't you think?
Perfect weather, exactly, for football.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Well, it looks like a few high schools in the area hosted jamborees on Friday.
Good opportunity to evaluate their teams now that we're just 1 week away from the start of the season in Missouri. We'll hear from Lamar and Carl Junction head coaches coming up. Plus, Chiefs tight end Jody Fortson looks sharp this preseason. More on him next. We're less than 1 week away from the start of the high school football season in Missouri, and this past Friday, a handful of local schools played in jamborees. Lamar was down in Webb City on Friday night, scrimmaging against the Cardinals and the Joplin Eagles. The Tigers got in some valuable preseason reps, playing against two schools much bigger than them.
We didn't back down from these bigger schools that are extremely talented, and we stepped right up there with them and competed hard. And so getting to play against them really prepares us for when we get to go play schools in our conference that are, class 3 schools, class 4 schools.
Carl Junction hosted a jamboree on Friday with Nevada, Carthage, and Monette. CJ quarterback Dexter Merrill connected on the deep ball a few times, but the team also had a few turnovers, something head coach Doug Beckmaster says the Bulldogs need to focus on.
We have some athletes, and we have some kids who can run, and we made some plays. Again, like I told our players, we did a lot of good things offensively and defensively, but we did a lot of things that we need to get better at. Turnovers, you got to eliminate. You got to value the football. You got to take care of the football. Those things will get you beat in a heartbeat. And if we can improve there, and get our kids to understand that the little things matter.
Kansas City played in their second of 3 preseason games on Saturday. The Chiefs beat Washington at home 24-14. Patrick Mahomes led the Chiefs offense for the first 2 possessions of the game, and just like last week, he completed passes to a variety of different targets, showing off the Chiefs' depth this year. Both possessions ended in a touchdown. Mahomes found tight end Jody Fortson from 5 yards out, and then again from 7 yards.
I think you've seen with Jody is when he's one-on-one and he has a guy behind him, you can kind of give him that chance. And I've kind of built that trust with him now. And I think you saw it 2 times today where he wasn't necessarily open, but we have a big guy that can catch the ball, make those physical, tough catches. You give him a chance, and he makes me look good.
Coming off his injury, he was in here every day, busting his tail to get himself back. And it's always good for that story to come out the way it did today.
In the MLB, the Cardinals aim to stay hot. They've won 6 straight and 15 of their last 18. St. Louis closes out a series with Arizona today. Lars Nootbaar puts the Cards on the board early. Solo shot to right. Same inning, Nolan Arenado singles up the middle. That makes it 2-0. A little later, Emmanuel Rivera rips one down the third baseline. Brendan Donovan makes the grab but struggles with the throw. 2 score, and that ties the game. 7th inning now, St. Louis trails by 1. With the bases loaded, Arenado sends it through the gap for a 2-run single. Cards win again 6-4. The Royals close out a series with the Rays today. Kansas City down by 2 in the 5th. MJ Melendez drives one down the line. Kyle Isbell scores. Royals go on to tie it up in the frame, but bottom half Harold Ramirez hits it up the middle. RBI single, and the Rays are back on top. Still a 1-run game in the 9th. Royals down to their final out. Nicky Lopez grounds out to first, and Tampa Bay wins 3-2.
So back to the Chiefs football. We've talked about the last few days, Patrick Mahomes completing it to a multitude of people. The one person that hasn't gotten a target from him, second-round draft pick Sky Moore. So we talked about that depth. If Sky Moore gets involved, man, even more dangerous than they've been already this preseason.
We'll keep our eye out on him. Maybe the final preseason game we'll see him out there a bit more.
For sure, and then St. Louis Cards continue to stay hot. 6 out of 18, just in time for the postseason. Well, that's a look at sports. We'll be right back after this. Well, if lack of internet access was keeping you from climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, well, you're just in luck. Tanzania's information ministry has installed high-speed internet to service climbers on Africa's tallest mountain. It's designed for those adventurers who feel that if they feel the need to want to post themselves and couldn't, well, now they can. Summiting on Instagram and things of that nature. Right now, the coverage is good up to 12,000 feet, which provides coverage for about 2/3 of the mountain. Plans to extend the coverage to Uhuru Peak next door at the 19,000 feet are in place for the end of the year. The move has been welcomed in Tanzania as a boost to tourism, but others wish that there were better access to remote villages around the area.
Looks like some snow there on the mountain.
Well, isn't that something? Yeah. Wi-Fi in mountains.
I feel like that's got to help with some safety too,
Probably
right? That was my first thought over Instagram.
Yeah. Well, we have some nice weather to talk about for a change. We have temperatures close to 90 degrees this week. Little chance of rain, maybe Thursday a storm or two up to the north, but I think we're going to have to wait until next weekend before we have a better chance of storms. In fact, we could see quite a bit of storm activity around here, and then temperatures in the 80s next week. So not a bad forecast certainly for the latter part of August.
Awesome. All right, Danny, what do we have in sports?
Missouri high schools are heading into their final week of practice before their season openers this coming Friday, the 26th. So super excited to see how some of these teams shake out.
What's our magazine called? Pigskin Preview, right?
Yes.
Go ahead and check that out, and that's our time for now. And we're always here at KOAMNewsNow.com and the KOAM News Now app. Thank you for making us part of your night. We hope you have a great one.